Today I'm going to explore all of the forgotten tutorial worlds from Minecraft Legacy Console Edition. So let's get on with exploring Title Update 1's tutorial world. Of course, this version of Minecraft was based on Java Edition Beta 1.6.6, and this tutorial world was only originally playable on the Xbox 360 edition. Right from the start, you'd notice that we have this little structure here, and this is something that will pop up in every single tutorial world, as this was sort of your tutorial on getting started with building. In the original Legacy Console editions, you'd have pop-ups telling you to go and find a tree, start punching it like this, get some wood, and then craft it into planks, and you could start building up this house and working your way through the tutorial. In the little starting area, we also had fishing rods to teach you how to fish in this little pond. There were boats, so you could have a try with riding your boat across this little pond. And there was also a furnace, so you could have an introduction to smelting items. So I have gone ahead and switched into creative mode, so I'll be able to explore the map a bit easier. But for this very first one, it was very simple. You finished the tutorial, you could come underneath the Minecraft sign, and you had access to this village. Now, interestingly enough, this was before villages themselves were actually added as structures into the game. So this was a handmade village with no villagers to be found. It would show off some of the other blocks you could make, like these bookshelves, you'd have chests, but that was pretty much it for this village. The more interesting point was over on the other side of the village, where you could ride this minecart, and you would arrive at this castle just on the other side. As you can see, the village is over there. You arrive at this castle build. Now, castles is something that we're probably going to see a lot of in these tutorial worlds, but for this first one, there wasn't really too much to it. It was pretty empty. As you can probably tell by these structures, they were very limited with block choice back in these early versions, having to use things like wool. But in terms of the whole tutorial world, that was pretty much it. There was not much else to find in this world. It was exactly just a regular empty Minecraft seed. And this was sort of your only structures where you'd learn about the game, and then you could go off and explore for yourself or create your own world. So with that one done, let's move on to the next one. So the next world we have here is from Title Update 3, which was based on Java Edition Beta 1.7. You still had, as usual, this same little house structure, but the big introduction from Beta 1.7, or Title Update 3, was of course pistons. So you did just have this little build showing you how pistons could move blocks to do stuff like block off water, as well as over here where you could go into the chest, I believe. Yep. Collect the redstone needed to complete the circuit, and you could push this block from one piston to the other. You still had the same two ponds in the back for boats and fishing, but other than that, there was nothing new to the entry area. Going through to the next area, you will see exactly the same village as the Title Update 1 tutorial world. Going over to the castle, and it is a little bit different this time. This time it has a lava moat which you have to cross. Now, you cross this by using the new pistons. And once you're over to the castle, it was pretty much the exact same thing as before. And just like with the first one, there is not much else to see in this world. It is once again just a regular Minecraft world seed. In fact, it is the exact same world seed as the last one. So next up is the tutorial world from Title Update 5, which is based off Java Edition Beta 1.8.2. If you don't remember Beta 1.8.2, it was a pretty big update that changed a lot of Minecraft. It added sprinting, hunger, it added creative mode, and they set some of the foundation for adding the end in a later update by adding structures like strongholds. So, although it looks really similar from the get-go with the usual hut and a very similar entrance area with all the same stuff like the fishing pond, boating pond, and the pistons still being here, you can see from the mountains in the background that this is in fact a different seed. Going through to the main area, and we are instantly greeted by a chest which has a music disc 13. This is when they added the music disc quest. So what you had now was a challenge to find all the music discs around the tutorial world. So this is where they started building up more structures that you could find with chests in that would contain the music discs. As you can see right here at the start, we found another one, we found cat. But they still sort of had a main sort of village as soon as you got out of the beginning part of the tutorial. You still had these custom built house structures, but for the first time there was also a naturally generated village right next door. So these villages could now spawn into any of your Minecraft worlds as villagers were introduced. This is also the tutorial world where they did start spreading out some structures. If we head over into the desert here, we will see another just randomly generated village, but you can see there is things to find here, as there is a custom built flag on top of here and a chest with a music disc. So once again, those music discs encouraging you to explore further out into the tutorial world and find other structures. The other point of interest to Title Update 5 tutorial world is right here behind where you start. There is this little cave which has that same bridge building piece of redstone now that the castle has gone. Now this sort of base dug into the cave, it has all sorts of different rooms. You can find music discs around the place. Now one thing you could also find here for the first time is if you built up into the ceiling, there was a lever to pull, and this would open some pistons, revealing a nether portal for the first time in the tutorial world. Now the nether itself didn't have anything special, it was just a normal nether. So that is all there was to see from the Title Update 5 tutorial world. And as you can see, they did start adding more features to these tutorial worlds that would encourage more people to check them out every time the game had been updated. So let's head on to the next one. So this is the tutorial world from Title Update 7, based on Java Edition release version 1.0. The one key thing missing from the console edition Title Update 7 that was in the release version of Java though was the end dimension and the ender dragon, as this was added in a later update. Once again, the entrance area, same starting house, same fishing pond, same boating pond, same pistons. Heading through to the main area, and we're once again greeted with the first music disc, one of 12, and there was a completely new music disc quest to go on. But not only was there a new quest, there was also a completely new tutorial world outside of that entrance section, with the return of a castle. Heading into the main castle, this is where we can start to see that lots more building blocks had been added to the game by this point, as we've got lovely carpet, stone bricks, and there are lots more things to be showing off, such as brewing and enchanting. They would also build the music disc quest into the tutorial by having you learn about brewing over here and making a potion of fire resistance in the end. And then you would be able to jump through this lava and swim through it to the other end, which we should hit about now, and you would find a music disc. Heading to the upstairs of the castle, you could once again find a hidden lever over here that would open up the wall and reveal a nether portal. Once again though, there is nothing to find in the nether, it is just a standard nether. Outside the castle there were two more pathways you could follow. One took you to a tutorial on farming and breeding animals, and in the opposite direction it took you out into the desert where they built a custom sort of temple structure. Once again, desert temples themselves were not added to the game at this point, so they had to go with a custom structure. This time there is nothing too much of interest to find around the back of the entrance area. The only thing we can see off in the distance is a well which now naturally generates in the worlds, especially around deserts. So that was it for the Title Update 7 tutorial world, and I think this is the first one that a lot of people can definitely say they remember with this castle build, but let's move on to the next one. Up next is Title Update 9, which, as you can probably tell from looking around seeing that castle over there, it is very similar to the Title Update 7 world. Title Update 9 was also based on Java Edition release version 1.0, and the obvious key feature that it added was the end dimension and the ender dragon fight. Still the same things in this little starting area with fishing, boats, pistons, and the house to build. Going through, we can once again start the music disc quest, and we are brought to a very similar looking castle to Title Update 7. Almost everything in here is pretty much the same. There is still the brewing and enchanting tutorials. The same lever can be pulled upstairs to get access to the nether portal, which is now hidden behind a painting. Once again, nothing to find in the nether. So once again, outside of the castle, we have two pathways, the same farming and animal breeding section, and the same custom built desert temple. Going over this way, there is also this little hut built over here. Inside, we can go down this trapdoor to a nice little underground basement where we of course find a music disc. There was now starting to be other small structures to be found around the world where you would discover the music discs instead of them all sort of being crammed right into the middle in whatever the main building is. So as you can see down here, there is a chest under there, and you will of course also be able to go out and explore further and find your usual Minecraft structures such as villages. Back over here where we started in this little entrance area, there is a little tower over here which you will obviously climb to the top of to get yourself one of the music discs. So that is pretty much it for Title Update 9's tutorial world. So let's move on to the next one, and I think the next one is one that everyone will remember. Welcome to the Title Update 12 tutorial world. Immediately things are looking a little different. Title Update 12 was based on Java Edition 1.2.1. and this tutorial world is probably the most iconic and the one that is best remembered, as this is when the console editions really started to hit the height of their popularity, and this is also the initial tutorial worlds for the PS3 edition, Xbox One edition, PS4 edition, and PS Vita edition. So that was lots of versions that started out with this tutorial world, or a very similar tutorial world, as we'll see as we go into the next one. But we're here in this one for now, Title Update 12. This hut has sort of changed its design a little bit, but it is still the same sort of thing, teaching you how to build a little starter house. Looking around, you'll see that a lot of the other stuff in the entrance area have vanished. There is no more fishing tutorial, there is no more boat tutorial, and there are no more pistons. So instead, once you'd built that little hut, you would have access to walk up these stairs, open the chest, and once again start the music disc quest, which is completely different in this completely new tutorial world. Now, some interesting trivia on this version of the tutorial world. This main sort of structure that we're going to be exploring here is actually based on Edinburgh Castle in Scotland. Obviously this would make sense, as 4J Studios, who developed the Legacy console editions and built these tutorial worlds, are based in Scotland. One thing you'll start to see is that there is a lot more that they have to show off and teach the player now, as more mechanics were being introduced to the game. So as you can see right at the start, we have brewing, we have enchanting, we have iron golems and snow golems. Over here we have farming and breeding. Down here we have minecarts and redstone. Continuing to head through into the main area, we walk through lots of these sort of sandstony buildings as we come to almost like a little town. Each one would have things inside a little bit different. There'd be different coloured walls showing off paintings. Some would have, as we can see over here, there's a lot of bookcases like a library. There would also be one over here with brewing stand and cauldron. Again, so you can sort of go about and test out different game mechanics. Over here in this one, there was a lever you could pull, and that would open a staircase, so you could go down below to another little build underneath the main area. Of course, down here you would find a music disc. You could also follow the water down here to get to a way out, and you could go off and start exploring the world, as well as going back over to the animals over here. Now, another thing that's of interest in this version of the tutorial world is you could build your way up to the Minecraft sign in the sky and flick the lever to reveal this is where the Nether portal can be found. Once again, completely normal Nether, but it's interesting that they put it up here inside the Minecraft sign. Flying around, you can see lots of small details on the build, such as there is a cannon on the side here. It doesn't actually do anything, but it is just built to represent a cannon, again showing that history of a real-life castle. Coming away from the main area over in the distance here, you can see there is a little boat with a creeper. So that is the Title Update 12 tutorial world. As I said, this is probably the most iconic and most well-remembered tutorial world by much of the player base, just because of how many platforms had it as its first version of the tutorial. But even though there is many more mechanics to show off, you can see they're still not sort of branching out of having just a main sort of area, often based around a castle. So there is still not too much to find outside of here, and the rest of the world is pretty much just your standard Minecraft world, with the occasional structure, again like a tower, where you could find a couple of the music discs. Now, the next tutorial world, looking very similar, is for Title Update 14. Title Update 14 added features like villager trading and emeralds for the first time. Now this one is very quick to cover as the entire world is identical to title update 12, with the only additions being stuff like ender chests being shown off at the start, and there is now a staircase up here made out of the new quartz blocks that would teach you about villager trading. The rest of the world is exactly the same. This main area is unchanged, and you can still find the same creeper boat out in the distance and the tower behind the starting area, which should just be coming into distance right about now. There it is. So that was the only changes made for title update 14. Which is why I said the title update 12 is the best remembered, even though it was actually this title update 14 version that was the one that shipped with Xbox One Edition, PS4 Edition and PS Vita Edition. And after that quick one, the tutorial world actually completely changed a few updates later in title update 19. The starting area remains pretty empty, again just having the wooden house for that part of the tutorial, and nothing else to be found here. Going through to the main area, the big new addition of title update 19 was horses, as this version of Legacy Console Edition was based off of Java Edition 1.6.4. You still had the 12 music discs to find, and this time they would start to spread out a bit more than usual. So you still had this main sort of area just after you finish the start of the tutorial with the Minecraft sign, a castle, and the farming and breeding tutorial. Lots of things were added new in this update, but the main new additions here are the firework tutorial, the beacon tutorial, going over to this castle structure. Again, a lot of these buildings are now going to start being based around real life buildings you could find in Scotland. I think with both this world and the last one, you can definitely see that the buildings start to become a lot more advanced, and the tutorial world starts to become more about showcasing good quality builds in the game rather than just being purely about teaching the player. Come a long way at this point from the early villages and the early castle of the title update 1 tutorial world. Once again, this castle has many different rooms to find, and there are secrets all over the place with hidden levers that will open things, the music discs to find, and there is of course a nether portal hidden in the world as well as usual. That nether portal has been moved though, as it's not in the Minecraft sign anymore, so it will have to be found within the castle. So you may be looking around and thinking, well, is that it? Well, actually no. As I said, they did start to spread out a bit more, with not everything being contained to this one small starting area. Now, there is a very good reason why many people remember this tutorial world, but to find that out, we're going to have to fly into the far corner of the world to find a structure. So you could leave the main area and head towards the bottom left corner of the map. You'll know you're heading in the right direction once you find this naturally generated village, but you can cross over the water and you will see another famous building. This is of course a recreation of Stampy's house from the YouTuber Stampy Longhead and his very famous Lovely World Minecraft series. This is obviously by far the thing that this tutorial world is remembered for the most, as lots of people grew up watching Stampy and playing the console editions of Minecraft. This isn't the complete build and is obviously outdated pretty quick as Stampy started adding to his world. But if you were a fan of Stampy, then you were probably very impressed to find this in the tutorial world. One nice little extra 4J Studios went ahead and did over here in Stampy's house was they had the 4J Studios Love Garden. This was, of course, their own take on Stampy's Love Garden, where Stampy would add subscribers and people who had made sort of fan projects surrounding his Lovely World series. So what 4J Studios instead went ahead and did is they named the biggest and most popular Minecraft console edition YouTubers at the time. You'll probably recognise a lot of these names if you grew up playing these old versions of Minecraft and if you followed a lot of Minecraft YouTube at the time. Of course, they did make sure to put Stampy himself into the 4J Studios Love Garden. In fact, Stampy did also make a video where he did discover this in the tutorial world, and he did say at the time that he had no idea this was going on, so this wasn't even pre-planned with him, or it wasn't like a world download of the original build sense. Someone at 4J did have to recreate this by hand, like anyone else would have had to. So that is pretty much it for the Title Update 19 tutorial world. The only other interesting fact to point out about this one is it was the tutorial world that the Wii U edition of Minecraft launched with. Next up is the Title Update 31 world, and as you can tell by the jump in number there, they did not update the tutorial world quite as often as they used to, pretty much saving updates for major release versions. This little starting area is now looking a lot more decorated with stuff like little rivers being dug out, but other than that the main purpose is just to build this house before moving on. Moving on into the main area, you will see it is completely different to the last tutorial world, and they have gone with more buildings based off of things you would find in Scotland. The various buildings around this main area would serve as tutorials for different mechanics, as you can see with the item frames, stuff like fireworks, brewing, redstone, that kind of thing, and you would find them all spread out around this main area. The Minecraft sign did get an update for the first time though, now being built out of stone bricks and having a bit of water surrounding it and being built on grass. There's also a ladder so you could get right on top of it. Now, continuing in the tradition set with the last one, 4J did decide to start spreading things out from just this main area, especially when it came to finding the music discs. So you can now pretty much fly around the world and find lots more structures. The first one we can come to just outside the main area right here is this sort of cathedral looking building made of sandstone. Some other interesting things you can find around the place. There is a golf course sort of looking build around here. There is some other big structures. There is this red sandstone structure over here. Behind this starting area there is also another big sandstone cathedral or ruined sort of structure over here, which could sort of be a nod to more ancient structures you could find in Scotland. Just behind it there is another little town with more things to be found inside each of these buildings. Going even further back, there is a lighthouse build over here on the coast, as well as another sandstone structure over here. Round the side of that sandstone structure, there is a hedge maze you can go ahead and complete, probably for a music disc in the middle. Going out into one of the new biomes added in this update, you can see that they have built sort of a parkour course going around these trees. This parkour course is actually quite long, and you can get all the way to, we'll see if we can find an ending point, up here where you can grab yourself the music disc and a minecart to get yourself back down. And one more interesting build to point out in this tutorial world is that it actually had the main structure from the Title Update 12 tutorial world hidden just off outside of the main area to the, what are we here, northwest. Now, this isn't an exact one-to-one rebuild of the Title Update 12 tutorial world. A few blocks have changed around the place. As you can see, it's built out of stone bricks now rather than sandstone, but it has a lot of the same structures. But that is pretty much the main points of interest for the Title Update 31 tutorial world. As you can see, even more so than the last update, it is definitely now becoming more about interesting builds and sort of being a mini adventure map with things to find and activities to do, rather than just purely being a tutorial on playing Minecraft survival mode. And we're nearly at the end now. This is the Title Update 46 tutorial world, and this was the final tutorial world to release for the Xbox One edition and Nintendo Switch edition, as those were the first two versions to be discontinued and replaced with Bedrock. And as we know, the Bedrock edition does not have a tutorial world. Instead, it has just a how to play section in the settings menu. So this is the first tutorial world to take place in an amplified world, as this was a new feature at the time of this update. Still in the starting area, we just had the usual wooden house tutorial to build up, and then you could head off through here to the main area. As you can see by looking straight ahead, the big thing they were showcasing that was new in the update was the elytra. Everything else about the main area has changed. You still have the same tutorials on the same mechanics, but they are once again in different areas and spread out differently amongst sort of, I don't know what I'd say, this is like a big ruined castle area. But it does look quite nice. The Minecraft sign has had its final design here, being fully made out of stone bricks with creeper statues to either side. There are still, of course, the 12 music discs to find, and with the Elytra being the big feature, there is a pair right here, and you could go ahead and complete this little sort of Elytra course by jumping off from the top here and making your way down through the rings. And I fell off there. Once again, this tutorial world is quite spread out with all sorts of structures to find around the world, and it would take a long time to go ahead now and be able to show you all of them, so I will go ahead and just show some of the structures you will find around the main area. As you can see, there is this very big area of interesting terrain. Of course, a lot of this is probably custom, but you can see there's bridges built across here. There'll be music discs to find. There is more ruined sort of castle structures. One of the big things in this iteration of the tutorial world was the statues to different mobs. As we can see, there's an ocelot there, and we can see over here in the distance there is a polar bear and a zombie. You'll find these buildings all over this world. Going out further, we will see another big tower structure, as well as a mushroom island, which has had some custom built mushroom houses built into it. Now, as you can see by stuff like this cutout in the mountain here, this world was very much designed for you to go flying around with the Elytra. The jungle biome also has, very similar to the mushroom island, some custom little pods and houses built, with again stuff like brewing stands, cauldrons, showing off different game mechanics to prove that this is still a tutorial no matter where you go in the world. There's also a build over here that shows a desert temple atop a island right here in the middle of the desert. So one thing this tutorial world definitely does right is it shows off interesting builds across different biomes that you'd find in a Minecraft world. Coming over to this ocean here, you'll see that there is actually an underwater structure that has been built surrounding an ocean monument. Now, this is going to be pretty hard to see, so we can go ahead and grab a night vision potion. So now we have night vision, we can sort of see through the top layer of the ocean. You can see that there is these custom domes here that have been built, and I'm sure there is a proper way of getting into it, but I'm just going to break my way in. And as you can see, it's all dry in here, so you can go on a nice little walkway to have a safe look at the ocean monument without drowning. But that is sort of it for the big standout features of this tutorial world. So let's move on to our next and final tutorial world. So the very last tutorial world we ever got, released alongside the Aquatic update on Xbox 360, PS3, PS Vita, Wii U and PS4. As you probably already know, Legacy Console Edition was discontinued on Xbox 360, PS3, PS Vita and Wii U with the Aquatic update, and that is where those consoles would receive their last versions. The PS4 edition would receive one last major update with the Village and Pillage update, but this would keep the same tutorial world, and then PS4 would also move on to the Bedrock edition. The starting area here puts you right in this little valley sort of structure here, and there is of course, once again for the final time, the usual tutorial for building a wooden house. Completing that and you'll go through into the last tutorial world with the stone brick Minecraft sign for the last time. Once again, the main area has been completely redesigned, and once again it is in an amplified world. All the usual tutorials we can come to expect are to be found here. We've got the usual horse tutorial, breeding tutorials, farming tutorials, the lot. And coming over here to this section, this is where we had a big area that introduced the new features in the Aquatic update by showing off a coral reef below the water. Once again, we're going to need that night vision potion to be able to see it. So here we go, we can see below the water there is one of the new coral reef biomes. And obviously this is where the tutorial worlds sort of hit their best at being just about the builds, rather than about teaching the player how to play Minecraft. This build for the main area is now at the point of being really impressive, up there with professional Minecraft map makers. And of course, like before, this tutorial world spreads out and there is many other things to find outside of the main area, alongside the usual music disc quest. This tutorial world did keep a lot of structures showing different mobs. As you can see, dolphins here, and there is a guardian over there in the distance, just outside an ocean monument. Now, this world doesn't seem to have as many big standout builds outside of the main area like the last one did, with a lot of it being more pushed into this central area, which is to be expected with just how well designed this is. But as I said, they did still spread out. There are things to be found, just maybe not quite as big as the last world. But as we fly around this last world, overall, all these tutorial worlds did a fantastic job of teaching the player how to play Minecraft, if that is what they were looking for when starting out, instead of just going in blindly on their own. But I think at the end of the day, the tutorial worlds are more fondly remembered for the sorts of structures that were built here, and people remember them for exploring the maps rather than it being the place where they learn how to play survival Minecraft. And in the regard of being interesting maps to explore, I think 4J Studios did an absolutely excellent job at that, as well as it being a tutorial, because it also does really well in that regard. But after exploring all these worlds, I think the only thing left to say is just thank you to 4J Studios for developing these Legacy Console editions and for putting time and effort into making these tutorial worlds and making them fun to explore rather than just Bedrock Edition having a how to play menu. This made it much more interesting, and it was another thing to always be excited about with every update that came out. I always have an endless amount of things to talk about with the Legacy Console editions of Minecraft, so I'm sure they will be brought up again on the channel in the future. So if you are enjoying seeing stuff about this game, then do consider subscribing. But that will be all for now, so thank you for watching if you've watched this far, and I will see you in another video.